Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a Chemo Buddy for Life.
We are a Buddies Network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are Chemo Buddies for Life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Hey everybody, how are you doing today? I'm so happy to be here. We've got a great conversation or training today. And today we're going to be talking about On Leadership with Laura podcasts and kind of everything podcast, right? So first of all, let's talk about why podcasts are so important for you in your business. Now, whether you're a podcaster and inviting people to be on your podcast, or you're an entrepreneur or someone looking to get on a podcast. So let's cover both of those first. So if you're running a podcast first, so there are 3 things I would say to you. So the first is make sure that you are targeting the right market to come onto your podcast. So if your podcast is about, successful MLM careers, you're not going to bring someone on who talks about how to cook lasagna, right? Like, so, that's a bit extreme, but I mean, you get the idea. So make sure that you're targeting the right amount of guests, the right type of guests that you want on, right? It's kind of like, who is your ideal client? When you're working your unique value proposition, you want to know who your target market is. It's the same thing for podcasts, right? Use your UVP to target the right audience. So go after those groups or people that, can refer you to someone, or organizations or events where you're going to find the people that are right for your podcast. The next, and I've seen this time and again, and I have differing opinions about this. This is just my personal opinion. I'm by no means an expert podcaster, just seeing the way it is on both ends of things. When you are interviewing people for a podcast, don't be elitist, right? Like I've seen it so many times where people will talk to people and they'll try to qualify them. And there's nothing wrong with qualifying people because you want really interactive, good content on your podcast. But they're like, well, I'm not going to have you on unless you have 20,000 followers, or you don't have your website up, or, you're not saying the things I need to hear, right? Like, I think that that's just a communication breakdown. And I think that a lot of the time there are too many people who feel like they need a certain person with a certain demographic and a certain amount of followers or people that they can bring to the podcast, instead of actually looking at the quality of what the person's saying. And I've had this happen to me a few times. And in the end, I was glad I didn't go on those podcasts because they weren't my type of people. Now, maybe they're great for another audience that they're looking for and they jive with that. But for me, I just felt really, it made me feel horrible that I wasn't good enough to be on their podcast. And the thing that stuns me is that these people had no idea that that's what they were doing. So just, if you're doing a podcast, just make sure that you're connecting and having a conversation, right? And if you want to have someone who's got a certain number of podcasts or followers, you have to say that up front. And just say on every podcast, I only have people who have 1,000 followers. Do you fit that? And if you don't fit that, then maybe I can recommend you to somebody else instead of shutting someone down, right? And so I never want that to happen to anybody. So all of you people out there who are doing podcasts, just be aware of that, right? Like have a conversation with the person. And most of you are good that way, but there have been a number of people who've done that to me, and I'm sure other people. And I just set up boundaries around that. I'm like, yeah, this isn't a good fit. You need to find someone else, right? So on that side of things, and as a podcaster, when you're interviewing people, it's really never about you, right? And so I can't say one podcast I've been on where it's ever been about the person doing the podcast. They've all been awesome. They're all about the people they're interviewing and what that person's contributing to their audience. And I think this is the right mindset we should have. This is who we should be moving forward with. Now, on the other side of things, where you're looking to go on podcasts and get more visibility, create more impact and influence, again, make sure you're targeting the right type of people who are doing the right type of podcast for you, right? Build your list. So get ahead of those things. Build your list, build your influence, build your visibility, right? Because all of those things are going to contribute to you speaking on podcasts. And, a lot of the time, the kind of people I jive with are the ones I have conversations with. And they know my history, they know where I come from, and they realize what I can contribute to their podcast, right? And it's really important that you have that conversation beforehand, because you don't want the conversation going off on some tangent you're not sure how to answer, or you can't control the conversation, right? So there's that. And most podcasters, they're really kind of professional about it, so they'll kind of bring it back. But just make sure that you're staying on track with that. And the other thing is, make sure that you have a clear message of what you want to give to the audience. So, for instance, on the Diamond Show with Barbara Beckley, that's where I started off being on her podcast, and we talked about communication, right? Because I do the bank methodology as in Leadership with Laura. It's a tool we use. And we talked about why communication was so important on all levels. And this morphed into a conversation where we talked about, Barbara was like, I want you to offer that to my audience because I think it's so key. And then it morphed into this other relationship where I became one of the experts on her show. So you just don't know where things are going to go when you go on a podcast, who you're going to reach, how your message is going to affect millions of people. So just get out there, be authentic. Okay. And I know that's not always comfortable for everybody, but really people need that right now. They need you to be authentic and real. Give a message of inspiration and empowerment, right? And give them tools, strategies, and tips. Those are the 3 things that I would say. Because right now, everybody needs just a little bit more help. They need to feel more connected, and they feel like we're all in it together. Sorry, I got something in my eye. My eyes have been bugging me a bit lately. Anyways, so I think that's really important, and also as someone going on podcasts, make sure that you're doing something that's in alignment with you, because if you're going on a podcast where you're going to just be seen, you're going to get lost in the crowd, and people pick up on that stuff, right? It's just really interesting. And the thing is, you got to do what's in your heart. You got to do what resonates with you. So if you know that doesn't feel good for you, don't do it, because it's never going to come out good for you, right? And make sure that a lot of people that I talk to want to be on podcasts. They want more visibility. They want to be on a stage. They think it's the path to that. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you need to have the conversation with the right people about that, right? So get seen, get heard, and get visible. Now, let's talk about visibility. We did this a couple days ago when I was talking about social media. When you're on podcasts, you are being seen. Okay, you are being analyzed, you are being judged, in good and bad ways. Like, it doesn't always have to be a bad thing. But the one thing I would say to you is be willing to have all of that. Because the more you're willing to have all of that and not have a point of view about it, the bigger you will get, the bigger your business will get. When I say the bigger you will get, the bigger your influence and impact and your self-growth will get. You'll be able to embrace more, be able to take in more, be able to put out more to people, be able to give more, and be able to receive more, right? There's only good things about that, right? And remember, it's just someone's point of view. It's never about you, right? And, this happened to me the other day when, someone came in with a negative comment, and I just said, I said, well, that's an interesting point of view. I said, so let's move on, right? And so I didn't give it the energy. I just kind of smiled, and I'm like, wow, that's really interesting that he said that. But it was their point of view. It wasn't mine, right? And about something I'd said or something like that, right? And so really, if you can kind of have that detachment, and it's hard to get at first, you got to practice it, right? Like anything, it takes work. So really be thinking about that, and when you're on podcasts, be as engaging as possible. I use a lot of humor in my podcast. I like to engage people. I love people, right? So make sure that you've got a clear message about what you're going to say on that podcast, and that it aligns with, the theme or the values of that podcaster, right? So make sure that your message is going to go out properly, right? And then you're going to get back. Now, some people will allow you to offer something, either free or of value. So have something ready. A lot of the time, podcasts are more informational, and most of the podcasters say, well, how can people get a hold of you? Or do you have any upcoming events, right? I always give my information. You can get a hold of me here. This is my website. I do have a gift for people. It's a 3-day leadership challenge. You can go to this address and get it. So it just depends on what the podcaster's okay with, right? And usually they want to promote you, so they'll give you the opportunity to do something. But if you're on there just to do a hard sell about what you have, not happening, right? That's not what our culture is now. It's not a one and done. It's not about selling stuff. It's all about creating emotional connections with people and building trusted partner relationships. And it doesn't matter what personality code you are, someone who's very analytical, someone who's very logical, someone who needs a process, or someone who's just like going for it. Everybody needs that emotional connection on some level to move into action, right? But you have to have that first before the other comes. Because if you don't, you're wasting time, and you just wasted the opportunity you had to be on a podcast and get your message out into the world. And the other thing I want to say, the third thing here is you never know who's watching, right? I could be posting stuff on social media, crickets, and then I'll miss a day and I'll get an email from someone I don't know or a post, and I say, well, I didn't see your video yesterday. I was waiting for it. I'm like, what? Right? So you don't know who you're influencing or who you're connecting with or what kind of impact you're making all the time. So always go out there with the right attitude and the right mindset. And it's the same thing with podcasts, because you could be reaching millions of people from a tiny little podcast that gets picked up by somebody and they send it to, their 500,000 followers, right? Like, you just don't know, right? So make sure that you have awareness around what you're saying, your message is clear, that you're always offering value. Okay, that's the other thing I want to talk about. Everything is value added. You are the expert in what you do. You have a special gift to give to people. We all do. And whatever your gift, whatever your niche, whatever it is, make sure that you're willing to offer some of it to give to people. Of course, people who want to work more deeply with you, they'll connect with you. You can put them in your programs, whatever you have going on. But the fact of the matter is, the more we offer people just to get them ahead a little bit, I'm not telling you to give away the farm here. I'm telling you to give away something so that they can get a taste of who you are and decide if they want to work more with you, right? Like, I do my 3-day leadership challenge. It's absolutely free. And I know if they really take that, they're going to have dynamic change. Even in those just 3 days, if they have nothing else, they're going to have new awareness. And that's going to come into their life and their business. It's the same with podcasts. So offer something of value. And if you're not allowed to offer anything, put value in the interview or the podcast. Make sure you got, things that work are things like 3 tips or 3 strategies or how to, or why this. So why I was able to do this, right? Anything with steps in it, people want to see. One thing I do avoid using are the secrets too, because there really are no secrets. And some people can get a little ticked off about that, right? So like, that wasn't a secret. I already knew that. So why is it a secret, right? But if it's a tip or a strategy or simple steps or easy steps, people want stuff that's easy, that they can do and apply right now to have change in whatever they're doing, right? So just be clear about that when you're booking your podcasts, okay? Like, that's just really super important. So we talked about the side of being a podcaster, which I am not a podcaster, but I have a lot of people in my influence and referral network who are, and we've had deep conversations around this. Okay. And the second is on the side of being a podcaster. Now, being the one on the podcast, right? Now, let's talk about where to find opportunities to go on podcasts. So first of all, if you belong in different groups, there's usually 1 or 2 or maybe a few people in there who do podcasts that you probably don't even know about, right? Putting it out there and saying, look, I would like to connect with podcasters out there. I have a great message to send, and I'd like to set up a chat, right? They're always looking for people. They're always looking for people, but you have to be the right fit for what they do. Okay. So if someone who does a podcast on, how to use exotic spices in cooking, they're not necessarily going to be needing yoga meditation, right? So, I mean, maybe they will, I don't know. But, like, you want to be in alignment with what they're doing. So make sure, first of all, that you're putting it out there, that on social media and your other email, like however you get it out, your message out to the world, that you're looking to be on podcasts. Because if you don't tell people, they can't read your mind. Right? Now, there are also specific groups that you can do this with, right? Like Speakers Playhouse. I know that they have a great platform for not only finding speakers, but people who are looking for speakers. So Speakers Playhouse is great as well. You can just look it up and attend their Zoom meetings. They're really awesome. And I think they're doing some in-person events now. And, so things like that. Also, a good way to connect is through Toastmasters. They're everywhere. And also there are a lot of speaker organizations, probably in your area, nationally, regionally, and within your city. So connect up there as well. And the last thing I want to say about this is you can also look up different podcastings or podcasting sites. They're always looking for people. It was interesting. I was on a networking event Tuesday evening, and there was a guy on there, and he had his own podcast, which he'd kind of put on hold right now because, with everything going on, the kids were home and it just wasn't a good environment to do these podcasts. So basically he said, so what I did is I made podcasting fun for people. So I work with them. I work with podcasters as well as people on their social media, and he does animation around it. So if someone's talking on podcast, he'll do like a TV around the screen, or bring in different things to promote the person, as they're doing the podcast, or, if on their social media. And I thought, what a unique idea, right? So how can you make your podcast when you're speaking really entertaining to grab people's attention? Because if you're just going to sit there and talk for 20 minutes, you're going to lose some people, right? Okay. So make sure that what you're saying is entertaining. And most of all, the one thing, if you go away with nothing else today but this, you need to tell your story. And you need to tell your story in a way that's engaging, that your story follows a storyline, right? So the storyline is, here I am, and I worked so hard, and then these horrible things happened to me, but I was able to come out of it, right? And move forward, and you had some success. But then I got shot down again, right? And then I had a really deep, dark, horrible time of getting out of it. And then I finally saw the light, or people helped me out of it. And so now I'm skyrocketing to my success. Everybody wants to hear your story. And why they want to hear your story is because it's unique to you. Nobody has gone through what you've gone through. But you have to be willing to be vulnerable and talk about the bad things as well as the good things. Okay? This will make you a superstar, right? So if you're willing to talk about your story in a way that engages people, you have the high points, you have the low points. Don't leave people at the low point. That's not doing anything for you or them. Leave them at the high point, because now they're connected to you. Now they want to be a part of what you do. They want to do what you do because you've succeeded. So give that little bit of yourself to them when you're telling your story. And I can't stress this enough, because I think a lot of time we go on to say stuff and we don't integrate ourselves into it enough. I can come out with a million stories of the struggles I've had, but I'm coming out with just as many success stories as I do with the struggles. This is key, because if you don't have that, people are not going to listen to you if there's no goodness in your badness, right? So just be really clear about that when you're on podcasts and doing video, or, speaking on stage, right? Your story is what people are looking for. Why are you up there? If you're up there to just talk about stuff, that's okay. Maybe it's educational, but put some of yourself in there, because they really want you. They want you and what you offer, right? And I think that sometimes we lose sight of that, because there's so much online content right now that we kind of glaze over, right? There's just so much stuff out there. So you want people people are looking for people who stand out, who will engage them, tell a great story, be inspiring, be impactful, so that they can learn to do the same thing from you. Okay. So this is my message for today about podcasting, and you can take this message and put it across anything else you do, to be honest. But I really feel like with podcasting, you can make a huge impact on people's lives and inspire them to be their best version of themselves. And I can say that the other and last thing I'm going to talk about today, because we're getting low on our time, is when you start to be on podcasts, you got to ask for referrals. So you may be on a podcast and just say, this was really great. Is there anyone else you think that I would be a good fit for to go on their podcast? Because I really want to get my message out to the world and I just love people. You can bet that that person, he or she has probably interviewed thousands of people. They know somebody. So I think a lot of the time we don't tap into that. So make sure you're tapping into the podcast or referral network. Okay. And, the other thing too, that's come out of a lot of these things that I've done on podcasts are collaborations. I've been a collaborator, with several people on podcasts that has not only generated me a lot more income, but it's allowed me to influence a lot of people so that they can generate a lot of income and, bring their business and themselves up to the next level. Because remember, John Maxwell's theory of the law of the lid, if you're here, if you're a 3 out of 10, if you start doing this stuff, you're going to start moving up. You're going to have a different circle of influence. You're going to be meeting new people. You're going to be having bigger impact on the world, and you're going to keep moving. And what moves with that is your financial success, as well as your impact, as well as your business success, as well as your self-growth. It all moves together, right? Podcasts are a great path to this, and I don't want you to lose out on the opportunity you might be missing. So go out there, do your research, connect with people, be willing to be vulnerable, and remember, most of all, make sure that you tell your unique story, because you may not think you're fascinating, but I'll tell you, a lot of people will. And don't lose out on that opportunity. So that's all I have today for podcasts and leadership. You can see how it all ties in together. I do want to let you guys know, hey, if you're on Clubhouse, follow me. I'd love to follow you back. I have a room on Clubhouse called the Leadership Warriors Room. We're usually on at 7 p.m. Eastern in the evenings. Lately, I've been off, so I haven't had it, but we're going to be starting that up again. We have great discussions on all things leadership. Leadership is a huge subject, right? Leadership and communication. So make sure you join me there. I've had the wonderful Barbara Beckley join me. We've had some great conversations in the room. Invite your friends in. We'd love to have, a big old party conversation and really get people's thoughts. It's really mind-blowing and expansive. And that's where we want to take people. So reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. You can check me out at leadershipwithlaura.com or email me at laura@leadershipwithlaura.com. I'm also on Instagram as well as Clubhouse. So please make sure that you reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear more about you and what you do. And I look forward to seeing you next time when we're going to be talking about a summary of the 4 communication codes, the blueprint, the action, the nurturing, and the knowledge. So we're just going to get down and deep into that and summarize all of it. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll see you next week, and take care. Bye for now.
Haiti borders with the Dominican.
Her name is Serena Buffalino. They call her Mrs. B, and her class always begins with a pledge.
Something local, something global. Haiti.
They're words that carry
Yes.
weight here. Helping yourself means helping others, giving back, here and a world away in Haiti.
And nobody's helping them, except for people like us.
It was through her the class learned of Haiti, of the nearly 1 million orphans, many with no school, no support, no Mrs. B in their lives.
They could not wrap their head around that.
Mrs. B's students are among Toronto's most at risk. Their challenges vary from emotional and behavioral difficulties to learning disabilities. Their trauma so severe they can't function in a regular school setting, and we aren't allowed to show most of their classmates.
For most of the kids, most of society has turned them away. And in this classroom, they're accepted. They're accepted no matter what for who they are.
Take Yolanda. She came here last year so burdened and withdrawn, she would often fall silent, sometimes for days on end. It was, she says, Mrs. B's patience, her quiet encouragement, that saved her.
She actually saves people's lives from dangers.
And perhaps that's why these marginalized kids feel such a kinship with the orphans of Haiti, and why they were moved to act.
And so when Yolanda and Jackie and Patrick said, well, Miss B, we need to build them a school.
Build a school, no easy task. They started out raising money. They sold samosas, washed cars, screened movies, you name it. And in just a few months, this little class raised $20,000. So much, it's not just a one-room schoolhouse they can build, but a full 3-story school. And so Mrs. B set off on a journey she'd dreamed of, up into the dusty mountains above Port-au-Prince to a town called Canaan. It's home to thousands of earthquake refugees who live with no running water, no electricity, and no school, until now. The first step was a temporary school. It's up and running, 53 students already in uniform. The permanent school for 250 is growing from its foundations.
It makes me want to cry because she just makes me feel so awed, and I'm very proud of her.
All of this because of a handful of students back in Canada and Mrs. B, the teacher who believed in them.
These are for you.
At another fundraiser, a special tribute to the students, accepted by someone who, without Mrs. B, might not be here.
They believe in me and I believe in them, and together we not only change our lives, but we change the world around us.
For inspiring great things and seeing the potential in everyone, Serena Buffalino is this week's Everyday Hero.
This is the reason why I do what I do, is because of Yolanda and all the...
Welcome to the Diamond Spotlight interview. I am Barbara Beckley, the founder of the Diamond Factor LLC, where the mission is to empower women to understand their PPD, their purpose, passion, and drive. And this platform is to make sure to increase their visibility and shine like a diamond to the world. Today we are spotlighting another wonderful, I call all the ladies Queen Diamonds. So Denise is a Queen Diamond. And let me introduce her so we get right into the conversation. Denise Turley is a novelist, public speaker, a professional corporate writer. She brings more than 30 books, newspapers, magazines, radio, and business speaking and writing to projects. Denise has been listed in various entertainment and business directories, including industry's leaders such as Who's Who, 100 Most Admired African American Women, and Crosswalk. Her works has appeared in Parade, Essence, Ebony, Madame Noir, We the People, the Trenton Times, the Pittsburgh Quarterly, and I think it's Abundance too. Just an amazing person, as you can see. I mean, the list goes on. So welcome, Miss Denise. How are we doing this morning?
I am doing fabulous. I love that Queen, Diamond Queen on this, and a Friday morning at that. So I'm doing fabulous. Glad to be here on the Diamond Show with you, Barbara, and all of your listeners and the viewers. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And you are so honored. You have that queen. You might not have that. You can't see the crown like physically, but it's there spiritually.
Okay.
So I just want to let you know that you are royalty
Oh, well,
every
thank you.
day of the week. So let's just get down. We want to get to know this queen. So I'm just going to ask you a few things and we just get have a conversation here.
Okay.
So I always tell people I stalk people, but for good reasons, not for bad, to see what they're about and just to understand who they are. So I was looking at your website and some other good things, and I noticed it said for over 40 years, experience as a successful business, author, public speaker, freelance writer, and the list goes on, like we said earlier. Please, I want you to share, your purpose and passion and how you just came to, being a part of this like platform that you do.
Well, thank you again. I'm honored to be here, and I can tell you over the years that I've done radio for 16 years myself, and the different people I've interviewed, and just my path. A large part of my path was reading other people's stories and the road they took. And you're offering people that, and I would take little snippets of things that I learned from them. My first road, and I hope that there are women listening here, if they just need that 1-2 little bits of things to do, that this will be it for them and they take off. But just getting very clear about what it is I wanted to do. So for writing for me happened when I was 10 years old. I was an avid reader. And then when I was 10, I was reading a book of poetry by Gwendolyn Brooks, who's one of my favorite poets. And when I put the book down, after reading hundreds and hundreds of books as a kid, I read like 30 to 40 books a week. And after that, this book, when I was reading this book of poetry, these characters came alive to me. I had never experienced that feeling reading any of the other books I read. I put it down, and it's like my higher self revealed to me that I was a writer. So so that's how I got clear about it. I mean, very clear with conviction. So you're getting clear about what it is you want to do, because you're going to need that to get you through the challenges and the hard times. I started writing short stories and poems and plays. When I was 12, I started on my first novel, which I'm now working on 3 others, but I have 5 published novels out there. But again, it's that clarity this is what I'm going to do. So this is my purpose. So I got involved in the freelance writing, which just expanded my writing, helped sharpen my skill and my craft during the Great Recession. I know we're going through the COVID-19 and people working from home and people furloughed, and some people have lost a job permanently and they have to go find another one. The Great Recession was a very mean, it was a very mean economic time. This is more like COVID temporary. So I got laid off at the bank I worked for, or the financial services firm I worked for got bought, and they laid off over 50,000 people before it was over. So I was one of those people, and it was a hard, tough 5 years. But so what was I going to do? So I said, well, I can take on a temporary role for a company. And also I'm going after my freelance writing. That's what got me into freelance writing. I'm going to tell you, it wasn't the ideal time, as some things that we do, they come up when the rubber meets the road. You have no choice. You gotta think fast. You gotta do something, and that's how some people start their business. So that's what I did. I am so grateful. I am so grateful. For 5 years, that's how I put a lot of the bread and butter on the table, was through freelance writing. And I read a book about when you start out freelancing or entrepreneur, get at least 12 clients, because they're going to come and go and come and go. So because you're not going to get a regular paycheck when you work for yourself. It's going to ebb and flow and ebb and flow and ebb and flow. So that's what I did. But that skill and how to go out and get clients, if somebody told me I was laid off tomorrow, I would be okay, because of what I learned back then. So don't see every experience as like a disaster.
Yes.
Work it. Yes. You can come out of there with some experience or some skills that other people might panic if they were told they might be getting laid off. You know, you got something that you can go do. you have something that you can go do because you sharpen that skill. So that's how I got into the corporate freelance writing, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for that.
Awesome, Denise. You could just tell by all your success that you made the right move, and I could just hear that passion, that drive in you when you're talking about it. So it's just giving me chills. So thank you for sharing that with the listeners, because a lot of times I like to listen to hear the Queen Diamonds on how they basically what your advice is, what what you've done, and why you do certain things, because to give them hope. Because a lot of times people they want to do what like you do or maybe what I do, but they just don't know where to start or how you do things. So I'm glad that you shared that with the listeners about hey, sometimes things happen for a reason. They happen to change up your whole thing of what you're trying to do. So you found out that by being laid off and everything like that, that now hey, I'm glad that I did what I did now, because you've been doing it.
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you so much. Now, I noticed you also served, and I have to thank you for your service to the United States Navy.
Yes.
For a few years. So thank you for your service.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
I always ask, because people, especially that does that serves, I always ask, what propelled you to pursue the success you're doing now? I mean, did that help you propel you in your journey that you're doing now when you did join?
Well, thank you for your question. I think everything, when I look back, of course, when I go through hard things, and we've all been through hard things, some things just almost that I didn't think I was going to get through. Something so hard, I said, I'm not getting through this. But I think it all can work together. So again, I went into the Navy. I was living in Knoxville with my family. I grew up in the projects in Knoxville, Tennessee. And it was, the economy again was just not doing good. And when they would put a job ad, this before the internet, before cell phones, any of that. You looked in the paper for a job back then.
Yeah.
A lot of young people that might
They don't
seem
know
like,
that.
oh my God, who does that? But you looked in the paper for a job, and the line of people applying for a job would go all the way down the block. So I mean, it was just what were your chances of getting hired if they were only going to hire 3 to 5 people and 100 people you could see were applying. So I said, okay, so what I was going to do? I was working part-time as a cashier at Target. And then I said, you know what? I happened to walk. All of a sudden I saw it, the MEP station, the Navy recruiter station. And I went and I applied, 1 year delayed entry. Next thing I know, I'm in the Navy. I got to tell you, I did enjoy it. I had good leaders, and the people that I met, I did enjoy it. And I was a staff writer. I did administrative work, but I also was a staff writer. I always made sure I did something to keep me on my path, on my path. Even if I was in the Navy or whatever I did, I'd always like, can I do the department or monthly staff column? Can I do this or that? So I was always still writing, so I stayed on that track. But I loved it being, again, it's the people who were around me, and I had very good leaders, very good leaders. Leadership, if you're in a leadership role, you're going to really impact people's lives. Be a good leader. I would be a good leader.
Yes, and I like, by being, I think when serving, it helps you really with accountability and then being disciplined in certain areas. And even with you, and I love how you just stated, this was awesome, how even through being in the Navy, you still were doing your passion, with the writing and everything else. So it's still all linked up.
Yes.
That is, yeah. See, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes you have to go
you gotta
go back.
You gotta be intentional, deliberate, intentional.
I love that.
You're gonna make that happen. Yes.
Yeah, you were like, hey, this is my intention. No matter what I do, it's gonna be a place where I'm still doing my passion. So yeah, that's good. So you never went off. You was really, that's like I said, that was your purpose there. So awesome. Now you host an international radio program, Off the Shelves Books talk radio.
Yes.
Oh my God. I was like, she just has everything. She's doing all these platforms. So please give us some information about, that platform. Explain in a few words, how do you balance everything and then, do this as well?
Well, thank you again. Off the Shelf, and you can get to it from my website. I just want to give your listeners, the website is Chistel, CHISTELL.com. Again, that's TELL.com. Please go visit me online, you guys. Go check me out online, and you can read free book excerpts and learn more about my bio and the excerpts, and Off the Shelf Books Talk Radio, which comes on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But this is a story I'll tell you about Off the Shelf real briefly. I had just come out with my first novel, Portia, which is an inspirational novel, a very uplifting novel about a woman, a Black woman living in Chicago. She's a successful defense attorney. She's coming out of an abusive relationship, and she meets her soulmate at a Christmas party that's thrown by a big newspaper in Chicago. And then she gets her annual checkup and finds out she has breast cancer. She uses her faith, her family, and this amazing man to help her get through this. It'll leave you feeling good and encouraged. But anyway, so I was going out to, people are not going to buy your book if they don't know it's out there. They're not going to buy your product or listen to your radio show. You have to get out there and let people know it's even out here. So I got Gabby Press, which lists like magazines, newspapers, for any of your listeners who might be in business. It lists magazines, newspapers, radio stations. And I just started going through there. Like, they'll tell you which ones are African-American, Hispanic, if you want to target that demographic. So I would go through and I would call or email the radio station owner or the manager and to get an interview. And I got interviews all over the country that way. But one I reached out to, Neil Blake at Rainbow Soul. He's had experience in television and in radio. He's from New York. So I reached out to him. I'd like to do an interview with you to share Portia with your listeners, and this is what your listeners can gain. You always let people know this is the benefit your audience can get from this. So he said, why don't you just create your own radio show? Why don't you just create your own radio show right here on Rainbow Soul? I had never had that idea ever in my head until he asked me that. And I'm thinking, can I do that? I don't know why we often think we can't do something.
I know.
Right away, I'm thinking, can I do that? Can I do that? So I did. He said, it's really, really simple. You can listen to some of the other shows that are already out there. He said, sure, you can do it. So I did. 16 years later, I'm still doing Off the Shelf. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And he had very serious talk shows on there that covered really important events of the day, some politics, some real news, community, things really impacting the African-American community. And then he also had like his smooth jazz. And then I was on there for the books and the literary piece of it. But that's how I got started. It was no idea of my own. Wow. He said, why don't you start your own radio show? And I was afraid at first, thinking I'm going to fail. I can't do this. And then I tried it, and he said, sure, you can do it. I tried it, and 16 years later, I'm still, and have interviewed Roland Martin, who comes on. Roland Martin. Yeah. He used to be on CNN. He was early in his career. I interviewed, or earlier in his career, I've interviewed Tracy Price Thompson. We've interviewed Zane, best-selling author. These people I've come in contact with, I would not have if I wasn't doing like the radio. Yes.
See, wow. See, again, everything linking in. So you never know when one person, he spoke that into you saying, hey, how about, maybe just do a radio. And you could have, like you said, Denise, at that point in time, you could have just said, say, nah, I can't do that. But you didn't. You was like, you thought about it, and then you're like, well, why not? So I'm glad to see your drive is just so awesome. So awesome. That's why I like to listen to hear that, because see, you never know this. I always call the seeds. People, throw those seeds out to you. You never know where they're going to grow. So congratulations, 16 years. Wow.
Well, thank you. And awesome. Thanks to Neil, because I never would have done it if he hadn't said that. I never would have done it. He said it's easy. You can do it.
No, you said, oh, okay. But see, that sometimes, like I said, sometimes you just have to just take that step of faith and move forward and say, you know what? Maybe this is something that, there's a reason for what happened. So congratulations again. Now, I know we mentioned before, we were talking about, the effects, the change of the world right now concerning COVID-19 and the economy and, people losing jobs and stuff. So for you, can you give me some insight on how to stay relevant, and can still move forward while dealing with these challenges?
That is a very good question because as a writer, one of the best ways that I like selling books and connecting with readers that I do in volume was attending in-person events. So I started years ago when I was in Philadelphia. I'd go to large African American cultural festivals. They weren't just book festivals because bookstore signings really didn't move a lot of books, but I target events that had like 10,000 or more people, 10, 50,000 people coming through over the weekend. I'd go get a table, set up a booth, and give out free bookmarks, free excerpts, and I mean I moved a lot of books that way. Well, COVID-19, I was supposed to be in Alabama at an event a couple of months ago, but they shut all that. COVID-19 shut all that down. So now everything is virtual. Like I think the Harlem Book Fair is virtual this year, and they would get like tens of thousands of people to that event every year, and that was even covered on television. But that, so I would say go to the virtual events. There are still organizations like Urban Atlanta. If any of your viewers are entrepreneurs. I don't know why selling candles just popped into my head. But if anybody is like a entrepreneur or a business person that listens in, Urban Atlanta, they do free events and they have like separate breakout rooms. And I think it's like $25. They'll let you highlight your business to their audience if you want to. But those virtual events, I will tell you, I think it's titled 10 times the number, like digits 10 TIMES. They list events all over the country. Again, I'm speaking to the entrepreneurs that might be tuning in, or anybody who wants to know about events. You can connect to virtual events. Facebook Live does them, but when you attend, make sure you put comments in. If they have a place for you to put comments in, put your comments in, and they might click on your link that goes back to your profile. Make sure you have your website URL in there, and then they can learn more about you that way. Yeah. So if you do virtual events, don't just attend the virtual events. Put comments in. Put comments in so they see you, they recognize you, so you stand out a little bit more. That's another way to do that. And then also I do direct mail. So just continue to do some direct mail. Get on with Miss Barbara Beckley, a diamond lady. Get on those shows and come on with Barbara and be a diamond. Get on the podcast. The guy who did chicken soup for the soul.
Jack Canfield.
He said that's something he wished he had done when he started. He did more paid advertising. He said he wished he had taken advantage of more podcasts. That was one thing that he said. So get on a podcast. If somebody has a newsletter, get out on a newsletter. Just start searching for those things so you just keep your name out there and you stay relevant.
Awesome. Some really, really good wisdom information, Denise. Thank you so much. And I love how you even said, like, put your information in the comments. Take advantage of that so people could go straight to your page or where you're at so they know who you are. Because I think the biggest thing right now, as we all been understanding about the whole COVID, that now it's time for you to really just say, I got to put myself way out there now. I can't just, sit back and just be like, well, they'll find me, whatever. No, you have to kind of do the legwork a little bit. Excuse me. So wonderful information. And that's why you're staying relevant. I mean, now any challenges you have that you had to kind of switch some things to of your own business?
I can tell you that I just recently told somebody, a friend reached out to me from Atlanta. She's like, how you doing? And I said, I'm adjusting to this COVID-19 world. And so many people, now I'm working from home. So I started working from home in mid-March. You couldn't have told me. I tell everybody that come August, we would still be working from home.
Yeah, I know.
And with the numbers of this COVID going up, people thought the heat would make COVID go down. That's what I had heard, but it did. It did not have that effect. It's just like my family, we got together for my brother's birthday. We went to a nice restaurant, but people were nervous about doing that in my family with this COVID. And actually 2 people didn't go in my family. One of my relatives has sickle cell. She said, I'm not going. And then the other one is pregnant, so she said she wasn't going. But people are nervous to even go to restaurants. People are nervous to go to like big places where you would normally go where there'd be a crowd. They're like, I'm not going. So it has changed. It has changed. You know, you don't go to the movies. It's just different things. So that. I mean, I still get out for my walks. I highly recommend people, because cabin fever is real. You don't want to get cabin fever, so get outside and get some exercise and get under that sun. But it has been an adjustment.
Yes, it has.
Been an adjustment.
Well, thanks, Denise, for mentioning that to everybody about getting out, outdoors. Even if it's just, you walking by yourself, you just need to get out. You just need to get out. So, because people get I call them the hermits. You be in the house, and then soon if you do get out, you're like, okay, I'm not used to this. I've been in the house like for what, 3 months or whatever.
Oh my goodness,
yeah. So you got to get out for a minute. So wonderful. Yeah, working from home. I would have never thought too, because I'm working from home too. I never thought I would be working. It's been 5 months or so now or whatever, and I was like, wow.
I know.
Yeah, it's real, like they say. It's real.
Yeah, and it's unprecedented. Never before. This is like a brand new experience in my whole life.
Me too. Yeah. So, but we're still, even though I'm loving your positive energy, like I said earlier, you can just tell you just zeal with energy, and no matter what's coming your way, Denise, you're just like, okay, let's keep moving. Let's do something different. We got to move forward. I'm loving that.
You got to keep going. You got to keep it. Absolutely. Yes. And don't sit back. I had another friend who owns her own business. She said, don't sit back. Sormac, LaShonda Huffman. She said, don't sit back. A lot of people sit back and during the COVID-19, waiting for it to pass, not doing anything, not working their business, not promoting their products. She said, you're gonna be way behind when it lifts, and the people who keep moving their products and moving their companies and moving their business, they may come out way out advantage while you playing catch up. So just keep working at whatever it is you do, whether people in ministry, they're bringing the ministry through Zoom or different things. You just keep going. You just got to keep it going.
You don't want to get left behind because you're sitting back waiting for whatever to uplift. No, you got to keep going now. And now, have you noticed that to create, because I know you're very creative, especially with writing and being an author. So have you noticed your creativity heightened more because of the COVID? Because now it's like you got to think of other ways of doing things. Have you noticed that?
That is a very interesting question. I had never thought of that till you just asked it. That's very interesting. I did start on another novel about 3 weeks ago, and honestly, I don't think I would have done that. Honestly, don't think I would have done that if I wasn't like at home. That's very interesting that you asked that.
Yeah,
I appreciate you asking that, but I hadn't thought of that. I would say yes, I probably have maybe become a little bit more creative in that regard, which I wouldn't have thought that would have come out of this. That I would have started on a new novel and hopefully have it finished in a month. No, I don't think that would have happened. I can't say for sure, but I think there's something that did come out of that.
That's
but awesome. I was writing every day anyway, but I don't think I would have thought to write a new novel.
To get you on a pause, like some people pause in a sense of you're at home and you're like, okay, well, I'm not doing my running or doing what I used to do, so your mind starts to that's some people have been telling me, and I noticed it myself even, that I said, wow, now I have time to really think of things that I didn't have time to do, and now I can do that and still work on some things. So yeah, I feel like people's creativity heightened a lot, or stuff that they may have put on the back burner, and now it's like, maybe I can do that now. I'm here. It's not like I'm going out to party or anything right now. I can't really go out and do that. I mean, like, you can't even go out to dinner with anybody, like you said, because of people nervous about it. So yeah, that gives you that time frame. Now you mentioned ministry, and I just wanted to, I seen on your website, because I always look for good quotes from my Queen Diamonds and what encourages you. So, there was I that mentioned to encourage yourself and others, you put your favorite scripture. He preserves because he saw him who is invincible. Hebrews 11:27. Can you share why this particular scripture resonates with you?
Well, anything good, generally in my experience, and then when I was younger, I used to read a lot of autobiographies and biographies of people who had a tough beginning, but this glorious end to their life. My heroes, Harriet Tubman and Joan of Arc. These are women who, you talk about needing courage to get the work done. I mean, you had to almost be fearless to just keep to get. I can't even imagine facing what they faced. I can't even imagine it. And they just kept going. And for Harriet, she kept going back. Oh, she is like my absolute hero. And we're talking no highways. This stuff wasn't even built. She's out in the woods with wild animals. She's been chased by people with rifles and dogs. And she so just having that inner vision, getting very clear, and she had to have clarity, both of them, about what it is they were supposed to do. That inner clarity, and then that connection with our source, our creator, our higher self, to be able to hear that inner ear, to hear what source is saying, go this way, go that way, even when it looks like the odds are stacked against you, and source lets you know, keep going. You don't see it now, but when you get to that next spot, I will have opened the door for you. You don't see it now, but just keep going. That's that, with Moses, with Harriet Tubman, with Martin Luther King Jr. I could go on and down the line. These people, you get clear about what it is I'm supposed to do. You had that open channel with source. You can hear source guiding you, even when it seems impossible. And then after a couple of times, when it looked like you couldn't do it, that door swung open. Soon as you got there, when you were obedient, you start to really trust with conviction. I know the path's gonna be. I can't see it now, but I know it's gonna work out.
Yes.
That inner vision, and then you see it. Other people start to see it out here. That's what it takes. That I think it. I don't know anybody I've heard of who was successful who didn't say they didn't have that inner vision.
You're right, Denise. I really agree with you with that. You're right. You have to have it. Just like when you were talking about your the heroes that you have, like Harriet Tubman and Joan of Arc, and just how fearless, and this, just like you said, I don't care what that came their way. They just be like, okay, I still got to keep it going. It was like, how somebody just keeps throwing stuff, maybe throwing stuff at you, and you're like, I'm getting up, and they like throw something at you, and like, no, I'm still getting up, and they're probably even saying, what can I throw at this person for them to, and they just keep on getting up. And it's like, it's like you said, back in the day of Harriet days, they didn't have no, cars and none of that.
No.
She was in the, yeah. And then we have so much more now, so much more. And sometimes we make those excuses, and I have to even catch myself sometimes. How can I make an excuse? And like you said, going back to Harriet, I said, well, Harriet, she was doing this, and I at least have a vehicle. I can ride around. I can, get places. So yeah, we have to look at that and tell ourselves, we need to keep moving forward. So thank you, Denise, for reminding us of, even though there's challenges, we can get through those challenges.
Absolutely.
So, lady, now what's some last words you would like to leave with the listeners? And please let them know how they can contact you again.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to you again, Barbara. I sincerely appreciate this opportunity. You didn't have to like be so gracious and inviting. So I want to thank you. And for the podcast that I can only imagine how many people listen to your podcast, and you may never know who you are. That you're like a key. You're like a key in their life. You don't know. You would never know that the good works that you're doing. So that I would leave with people. Be very clear about what it is. Even if you go pray to source, find out what's your purpose, what's your intention. Get very clear about specifically seek guidance and follow it. Even when things occur, because life happens, it happens to me, it happens, your loved ones, you have to bury your loved ones, people get sick, all this stuff still happens while you're going after your vision. But if it was given to you from source, I'm telling you, if you do what you're told, it will come to pass. So just keep moving forward. And this is a quote I heard years ago. I would go by this. They said every day do 3 to 5 things that you are afraid to do, but you know they will help you. It will help you to go forward. Are there 3 to 5 people you can call that you're afraid to call? You're intimidated. You think they don't want to hear from you. 3 to 5 people you could email. You're like, oh, they wouldn't want to email from me. Send that email. Send it. This is the thing I taught myself during the recession. I said, it's not my job to say that I don't want to hire her. That's the employer's job. If that's a job I want to apply for, my job is to apply for the job. They're the ones that tell me whether or not they want to hire me. Because I would tell myself, oh, they wouldn't hire me. They don't want. I said, that's not my job. It's not your job to say, I'm going to reach out to Oprah or this person or that person. Reach out. It's on them to say yes or no. Yes. You just reach out. So don't talk yourself out of good things. And I would love for you to visit me and reach me online at Chistel, CHISTELL.com. Again, that's CHISTELL.com. Some of my books are Portia. Long Walk Up is a story of an orphan. She's orphaned at 6 years old in Africa, and she goes on to become Africa's first woman president. That's Long Walk Up, Portia, Love Pour Over Me, Spiral, and Love Has Many Faces. They're at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, ebook it, etc., in ebook and in print format. So I would love for you to get a copy of one of my books. And again, visit me at chistel.com.
Awesome, lady. Awesome. You are amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just being on the Diamond Factor and coming in with your presence, your wisdom, your expertise, all that. So you need to reach out to Miss Denise. I'm telling you, she is one of those diamond, like I said, the Queen Diamonds, and she is shining to the world. You are truly shining to the world. So thank you so much. And I wish you continuous success in life and in your business, lady. I really, truly do.
Thank you.
No problem. So to those listeners, thank you for joining us for another special edition of the Diamond Factor Spotlight interview, which we spotlight the Queen Diamonds as Denise. You can join the Facebook community under the Diamond Factor Experience. And if you wish to be spotlighted, just like this queen has today, please just contact me through Messenger and we'll get you a date and a time and we'll get you on the calendar. And remember, always remember that you have a diamond factor in you, that purpose, that passion, that drive that Denise has displayed and showed today, because it's so important, just not for you to know, but for others to share that, because you never know who you're reaching and touching a life that they can move forward in their life as well. So we'll see you at the next Diamond Factor Spotlight interview. And Denise, thank you so much again. Truly appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'm hanging on your every word, the love inside, I feel it burn. I've never felt this way before. I've had a taste, now I